Okay, we are live. So,
Alright.
welcome to SmashPad TV for the week of December 14th, 2014. I'm Patrick Mifflin.
And I'm Filippo D'Onofrio.
And once again, it was one of those weeks that kind of came together in the late running. But before we get to any of the developments, what have you been playing over the course of the week?
Of course, Defense Grid 2 is probably still going to be on my list of what I'm playing for the next 3 years, so doesn't
It is a
really go without
staple.
mentioning. Yeah, yeah. Playing a little bit of Drive Club now that the update's out, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that. Been playing a lot of threes on the Xbox One for some reason. It's incredibly compelling and addicting.
Well, what's it like? Like, what
Yeah.
is it for those who don't know?
It's kind of a little tile matching type game where you got numbers, you have to combine them to get to multiples of threes, and then build the highest highest score you can by matching tiles.
Huh.
It sounds dumb, but it's really fun.
Well, some of the best puzzle games are the ones that stick pretty closely to the conventions of the genre, so
Yeah,
I'm not at all surprised.
yeah. And what's really neat is threes actually has a very good use of Xbox One snap function, where you can actually snap threes on a sidebar and use it when you're doing something else. So I think it's actually one of the only games where you can actually play 2 games at once.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. And of course, Diablo 3,
Yeah,
Reaper of
it's
Souls Ultimate Evil
another one of
Edition.
those staples that we're probably going to be playing for years and years to come.
Yeah. I'm still working on my Crusader, and yeah, he's coming along pretty nice.
Cool.
How about you?
I I need to put some more work into my character, but that'll come. Well, obviously, I'm playing some Drive Club right now, as
Yeah.
well as well. I'll go into this in a minute, but I've been playing some Oculus Trip for the review, which I'm still not entirely sure what to make of. Um, it's like a beat 'em up RPG, some other thing that I don't even really know what to describe. But it's a
Okay.
lot of fun, and I mean, as it stands right now, it's looking at a pretty solid review. If I were
Yeah.
to hand it a score here on the spot, but I won't.
And would you say like River City Ransom reminiscent or?
Damn near it.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm not sure if I want to kind of play that card on it, but it's a lot of fun. I don't know. I just need more time with it.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give that one a look.
Yeah, it is a full price game, but you know, right now I'd say it's absolutely worth it if you're looking for something even remotely like that. It definitely has a sense of humor all its own, and uh, there. But it all in all, what you get is really just a really solid beat 'em up RPG hybrid with some other elements.
Hmm.
Um, Thematically, it's a little bit strange, but you know, it's a choir, so
Yeah.
I think at this point we all know what we get with those guys.
Yeah, they bring the weird. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
So beyond that, I've just barely started Bayonetta 2. Haven't really played enough um, to really be able to give impressions on it, but I definitely respect some of the responses it's got from people that I really pay attention to when they give their opinions on games. We'll put it that
Yeah.
way. And then, again, following the point from last week, Ridge Racers 2, kind of a fun thing I'm doing with that, where Sony has their whole building the list initiative, the whole hashtag that they've been running for a little while now about basically PS1 and PSP games that need to be brought to the North American market, in particularly in support of the PlayStation Vita, but also just straight up to have them. And so I've just been getting completely on board with that movement, and I'm doing a playthrough the first three, well, I should just say 3 of the 4 tours in Ridge Racers 2 on YouTube, just in support of that game for that very purpose.
Yeah, the last tour is, what was it again?
Max Tour, they just call it Opus on every one of them. And the AI is about as bastardly as you've ever seen in an arcade racing game. And being well versed in the history of the genre, you would know that's pretty bastardly.
Yeah.
Like,
so, yeah.
And here's the scary part: they've actually
enough to put yourself through that.
Yeah, they've actually reeled themselves in from Ridge Racers 1, where you can Ridge Racers 1 was just bad. You could visibly be going faster than the car next to you, but you could see it getting kind of ticked forward every time you were about to pass it. Like, it would actually jump a few frames.
Yeah, that's like not rubber band AI, that's like space-time continuum altering
AI. Yeah, super glue AI, whatever you want to call it, that's what it did. And as angry as I get with Ridge Racers 2's Max Tour sometimes, at least it's not Ridge Racers 1 Max Tour.
Yeah. Yeah, so you've been inundating YouTube with lots of Ridge Racers 2 footage.
I have. I've got the basic tour and the pro tour already uploaded. I'm going to start doing some annotations on the videos before I get started on uploading the EX tour. And honestly, Max Tour I might not even bother uploading, just because I don't know if I'll be able to cap it all. And you know, I want to show the best parts of this game, and I think I'm doing that with the
with the first 3 tours,
with the footage I'm getting. And I don't want to ruin that by including the Max Tour. But I might cap a few things from it, and you know,
yeah, just as maybe fun examples of stupid AI.
Yeah. By the same token, I might cap the Max Tour from Ridge Racers 1.
Yeah.
Just so you can actually see how horrible it is.
Yeah.
Because it's just awful. Oh, what's this? Somebody's got a target. Did they introduce rivals?
Yeah, I think that's something that comes along with the challenges.
That just might be a rivals indicator. But yeah, the channel is just my name, Patrick Mifflin. The playlist is hashtag building the list Ridge Racers 2. And if you've got some time and you want to see one of the best examples of arcade racing games, then absolutely check it out. And Ridge Racers 2 isn't the only thing I'm going to be doing with this channel, so don't worry about that. I will be probably putting a lot of content from the games that I'm reviewing, games that I just want to promote because they're good games. I plan on making full use of this live gamer portable that I bought and the YouTube channel that I'm supporting with it. So.
Yeah.
And as far as arcade racing goes, that's not all we're going to be doing here. We've actually got a couple features coming up. One where we're just highlighting the best of the best arcade racing games. Whoa! Well, that was interesting. Got me out of last place. one where we'll be highlighting the best of the best arcade racing games from over the years. I mean, everything's on the table from Pole Position up to Ridge Racer 7 and Sega Rally 3. So
yeah,
and on top of that,
material to sift through.
Yeah, and if I'm feeling ambitious, I might even capture video from a bunch of those or all of those, if I should find the opportunity.
Yeah.
Because some of those might be a little bit difficult to capture.
Yeah.
Like if we want to get power drift footage, we're out of luck. But
well, unless you can find the Yu Suzuki collection for the Dreamcast.
Did they ever release that in North America?
No, they did not.
Okay, I was gonna say if they did, then what in the world am I doing not owning it?
Yeah.
But on top of that, we're also doing a sort of full genre breakdown. It's a recurring segment that I'm calling Genre Clinic, where I take, well, I'm going to be doing at least 3 of them, but I mean, other staffers might chime in with their own iterations of it. And what we're going to be doing is going through one genre each time and all the subgenres within that, highlighting what ones are kind of prolific right now, what ones have what history. I want these to be really comprehensive, and I think it could come along really well if we do it right. And so I'm super excited about this. I've already gotten started on the racing one, and it's coming out pretty well how I want it to. And then in the end, we'll go kind of a breakdown of just the overall state of the genre as a whole. And so it's been a lot of fun so far, and I'm looking forward to doing the fighting and RPG ones after this as well.
Yeah. It sounds like it's going to be quite an interesting read, so people ought to stay tuned for that one.
Yeah, I mean, and you'll be helping me out with the arcade racing piece, so that's kind of a joint project of ours. And
because there's just so much stuff to go through.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it. And just playing the games for the feature is going to be a lot of fun too, because that's, I mean, everyone probably knows by now, is one of my major genres to play. So, just sitting down and making it part of my productivity with SmashPad it's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. Should we talk about Drive Club a bit, since we got it going right here?
Let's talk some more about Drive Club.
So Evolution Studios, they're getting it together. We're getting very close to the game that was kind of described at E3 and during its unveiling and really the months leading up to its launch. We're still missing a few things. We don't have the PlayStation Plus version. We don't have the My Drive Club app, but we're getting there. And Evolution Studios have come right out and said they're next. We've got a couple of the DLC packs now. We've got Weather, which I will give you an example of for better or worse here in a moment. But it's really starting to live up to its promise, and it's and it really highlights the fact that the core game around it is just so solid. That
it also feels like they've been consistently doing little gameplay tweaks here and there as they've been going along with the server stuff.
It feels like at this point almost the good parts of Need for Speed have been implemented as far as the handling goes, which if it's not going to be a straight up arcade racer, as I've talked about in the review and the video review and so on and so forth, then they can definitely learn a lot from the things that Need for Speed does right, and it does do right. I I don't mind that being the handling identity of Drive Club at all, even though I would still love to see it be try its hand at being a straight up arcade racer.
Yeah.
But yeah, once I'm done with this race, I'll quit out of the championship and do a time attack on a course with what we just go ahead and call inclement weather. And it really is inclement weather too. It's bad.
Yeah. Like, if you like racing in a tsunami, this game is for you.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I would have appreciated them not getting the camera involved in the festivities, but what the hell, next gen, they want to show off what they can do with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also nice to see that at least they kept the frame rate consistent even with all the weather stuff going on.
That's true. Which goes to show that it really was part of the original floor plan. I mean, I'm sure that after this patch wasn't the first time they had it running in those kind of conditions.
No.
So. Well, that's a pretty harsh cornering face-off.
Yeah. Then you run for your money there.
Wow, because it's a night race, I didn't even realize I was on Huracan. Day changes, of course.
Yeah.
Didn't even realize it until I hit that tunnel. Wow.
Yeah, but it really changes how you perceive it.
It does. Tracks can be completely unrecognizable.
Yeah.
Just by changing the time of day or the weather, as you're about to see.
Yeah. Nice brake caliper glow there. That's a nice touch.
I haven't seen that since, was it Forza Motorsport 2?
Yeah.
Let's see, I don't have the guts to do that at night, so... yeah, we'll go with this.
Yeah. Yeah, raining and at night, probably not a great idea.
But you can do it!
Yeah.
They'll let you!
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things about what Drive Club gives you, the tools they give you to use. A lot of that stuff can be super ill-advised, but they'll let you do it.
Yeah.
So...
is it just rain, or have they added snow yet?
I haven't encountered snow yet, but that doesn't mean it's not there. Truth be told, I haven't had time to play a whole ton of it since they dropped the update. I wish I had, but so far I've just seen epic rain.
Yeah.
And it says there's a light precipitation setting. I'm going to go ahead and suggest that probably either they have a different definition of light than I have, or they haven't actually implemented it.
Okay.
Because it really feels like it's on an on-off switch. Either you've got dry roads and perfect conditions, or it's a shitstorm. And
yeah,
you know, it honestly feels like this, even with light precipitation, and at least in my experience. After I'm done with this run, I'll do another run with light precipitation and see if you think it's any different, but
yeah,
I don't know, maybe there's a little less rain hitting the camera.
Certainly.
I almost wonder if they're just running like an FMV track of a camera lens getting pelted by rain in front of just in front of the game. 'Cause it almost seems like that's what it's doing, which is brilliant if that's how they handled it. But it almost seems like that.
Yeah.
There's probably physics behind it.
Yeah.
I notice little hints of that when I'm... Oh, crap. That was where I was supposed to start braking when it's dry. And yes, the road conditions do change.
Yeah.
This is not... this is not Sega Rally. This is not Outrun. The roads actually feel as shitty as they look right now.
Yeah, and they look pretty shitty. I mean, I don't think I've seen standing water yet, but I don't know if that's part of it or not.
Here and there.
Yeah.
A little bit of standing water.
Yeah, there's a bit of it.
Yeah. I don't think they have the car selection in this game to go to war with fully submerged roads.
No.
But at the same time, I would rather not give them ideas. Yeah, here in a second I'll do Cayush.
Yeah, like a great idea.
Yeah, I'll do Cayush Point with light precipitation and see how that goes.
Yeah. That's still one of my favorite tracks.
It is. I mean, yeah, if we were including hybrids on that best tracks list from a couple weeks ago, I would have absolutely been on board with including Cayush Point, because that one I'm pretty sure is going to have some staying power.
Yeah. It's got all the right elements, to, you know, easy turns, hard turns.
Yeah, you haven't seen it like this, though. Okay, it changes. It changes from heavy to light precipitation when you're on this screen. But I tried it earlier at one of the Norwegian tracks, and it just... the camera looked just like it did a minute ago.
Yeah.
And yes, I did retool the club paint job again. This is kind of like my modern take on RT Ryukyu from Ridge Racer Revolution. I didn't nail it, but it looks pretty good.
Yeah, I don't mind having that on my car, so...
I might try another attempt at RT Solvaloo again once we unlock some more liveries. Okay, see, now it's a little different this time.
DLC. Yeah.
Okay, now it's going to go and make a liar out of me. Maybe I was just on the wrong course before.
Yeah, maybe. But,
I still feel it on the roads, too.
yeah, there's not a lot of it on the track, but there's like spots of it where it is kind of wet. It's actually a pretty cool effect.
It is, and the DualShock's letting me know it, too.
Yeah.
Ooh, I might actually be onto a pretty good run here. Okay, yeah, that's not FMV. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the colors of the paint job of the car reflecting in the water on the camera.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, Evolution have really done an amazing job with the visuals on this game.
Yeah. Really gives you a sense of why it needed a little more time, because it's one of those things where you have to take all these different pieces and put them together.
Yeah.
But at the same
Yeah, Sony
time, being
EU's
an early,
what?
I
About
was
to
just
say
gonna say
Sony
that.
EU's
Ooh.
boss was saying the state that Drive Club came out and was a little bit embarrassing, and well, I would say that's kind of accurate, but it looks like they're getting their crap back together.
They
And
are, and at the same time, it feels like because it came in a little hot, we really got to experience a part of the development of the game ourselves, which
yeah,
you don't really get with console games that often. I mean, with Steam, you get early access sometimes, and in a lot of the cases, that might not even produce a game in the end. But with Drive Club, I think I can understand why some people were frustrated by it, but at the same time, it really feels like we got in on the most important part of the game's development.
yeah, I think with the feedback post launch and all the issues that they were having,
Oh my
it
God.
seems like they were more inclined to implement a lot more feedback than they might have been if it just came out perfect.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. I'm certainly not mad at them because they delivered a hell of a game in the end. And I'm
Yeah,
still really looking forward to that My Drive Club app for sure.
yeah, and the website that would help too.
And I just laid down another good time.
Yeah. So
24th in the
Drive
world,
Club's
I'll take
shaping up
it.
pretty nicely, and if you haven't played it, I'm sure the PS Plus version is going to be out. I don't know when it's going to be out, but might be a nice Christmas present from Evolution. Just
It would be
saying.
about perfect.
Yeah,
At the very least, I'm sure it's going to be one of the January games.
yeah,
Let's see. I'm going to try and recreate what I did earlier.
yeah.
Oh wait, here we go.
You want to move on to November's NPDs, or?
Sure, yeah. Let's talk about sales numbers for a minute.
Yeah, so Xbox One seems to be doing pretty well now. Sold 1.2 million consoles in North America, actually beating out Sony by about 33%, and they also outsold the PS4 in Europe for the first time. So looks like that price cut and those bundles are starting to pay off.
Yeah, and the games, and so many good Black Friday deals that, I mean, if you had the money and didn't get an Xbox One, you definitely missed out because they pretty much set up a perfect situation for people to get on board, and it's still a little bit up in the air whether that $350 price point is going to stick because, personally, I think they've got to stick with the momentum, and they finally stopped the bleeding. They're finally gaining back some of that massive amount of ground that they gave up to Sony over the last year. I think they have to stick with 39 and see if they can really get themselves back in this. And another big
Yeah.
question mark on this is Nintendo, because we say this week after week, but they just keep building momentum for themselves, and all these little victories are starting to pile up and become big victories. So I want to see how they're doing. Maybe not right this second, but see where they land after Christmas, going into 2015, because
Yeah. Well, for November, Nintendo saw about a 10% spike in Wii U sales, but I think that was kind of Smash's short tail because that came out towards the end of the month, so they might have not seen as huge of an effect from that as they actually will coming into the actual Christmas holidays.
yeah. And do we have numbers for Amiibo yet?
No, but I'm hearing the word shit ton being thrown around.
Yeah. It's a license to print money, and we knew it would be.
Yeah.
And I just did
Microsoft,
a huge drift in the rain. Do not try this at home, kids.
yeah. So Microsoft did pretty well in November. You know, granted it's every one.
Yeah. As far as games, Call of Duty took November. No huge surprise there. Perhaps some of that talk of the first-person shooter era, as far as AAA goes, being over.
Yeah. Well, I didn't put this in the doc, but even though it did, top the sales charts, was actually down 27% over Ghosts. So that just shows, how ridiculously overinflated the expectations are getting.
Yeah. And it's definitely a process that is... I don't know, if it's down that far from Ghosts, then...
Yeah.
There might still be a lot
take
of...
into account digital sales, though, so, I'm inclined to think that if you take the digital sales into account, it probably ends up balancing out.
They probably did sell a bunch of those digital Day Zero editions, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah, I know a lot of people who just didn't bother going to the store and just buying it digitally. Because they were able to actually play it sooner.
Yeah. Okay, here's the... Just going back to Drive Club for a second. Here's the real... I don't even know what to call it, just masochism mode. The only thing I didn't do was set it to nighttime, because I will not do that to myself.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I mean, take it in.
Oh my god. That's
This is a thing I'm going to do. Okay, so it is snow, but it manifests as rain. You don't see like gobs of snow sticking to the camera or anything. That might have just been a good development decision by Evolution, though. And it looks like snow when it's coming down, but it doesn't. Yeah. So, Last Guardian. Let's talk about that for a second, because Sony finally addressed it. It wasn't at PlayStation Experience in any effect. They keep insisting that it's still a thing, and
we're not there yet.
Yeah. Now they're saying that it is finding new life under new circumstances, because apparently there's some kind of internal moratorium on coming right out and calling it a PS4 game.
Yeah. Well, Last Guardian, still a thing. Probably coming to PS4. Still don't know very much about it. Give us more info on that, because it looks amazing.
Yeah, between you and me, I think we'll be playing Final Fantasy 15 first. Even in the best of
I wouldn't doubt it.
situations. But it's one of those things that's nice to know it's still coming. I hope none of you bought a PS3 for it, because that would be tragic. But
if you bought a PS3 for it, yeah, you're still
might
waiting.
just be SOL.
Yeah. I mean, you still got plenty of great games on PS3 though, so that's not a total loss.
That's true. At this point, if you buy any 7th generation system, you're going to find plenty of games to play on it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I was just putting that out there, because I have heard about people buying systems for games that never actually become a thing. So
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I know that the studio has a lot of fans that are really that dedicated, so hopefully that isn't a thing that happened, though.
Yeah. Well, what I've seen of it, and like just the brief trailers that they've shown of it, it's a game that I want to play. So.
Yeah, they don't mess around. They never do.
Yeah.
Their games are certainly niche, but if you fall into that audience, then you're going to be enjoying what they come up with. Uh, uh,
Yeah.
so it's good to it's just good to hear from them that they're still working on it, that it's still coming out. They just I
Yeah.
don't know what kind of snags they've hit. It would be interesting if they came up with a limited edition where one of the bonuses was a making of documentary,
Yeah.
because I would really like
Well,
to hear the dirt on that, to be honest with you.
yeah.
But,
So,
moving on from that, you've got some news about the Xbox One's Windows 10 situation.
well, it's more news in the sense that it's news that will get news January 21st during Microsoft's Windows 10 event, which they're going to be streaming live.
An
Phil
announcement of an
Spencer will be
announcement.
there. Yeah, announcement of an announcement. Phil Spencer's going to be there, and he will outline probably what the Xbox One's Windows 10 update is going to include, but also the Windows 10 features that relate to Xbox Live on the on Windows on the desktop PC itself is what I'm trying to say. So they're looking like they want to integrate these gaming functions across the board on all Windows 10 devices, and that's
That's a
something
pretty
I can
broad
definitely
scope from the way it's
appreciate.
looking.
Yeah,
They want everything
something
running Windows 10.
yeah. Yeah, Windows 10 on the Xbox One will be pretty interesting because that's when DirectX 12 will be brought to the table. So we'll see if we get any significant performance improvements out of that. But I doubt it. But anything you can do to make developers' lives easier is always a good thing.
Yeah. It'll probably be better for developers than it will be for the end users. I imagine a lot of this is any graphical issues or performance issues that you get out of Xbox One games are probably due to the hardware, not the software behind it. So,
Some of it is definitely software based. I mean, I've
oh,
talked to some developers say that there's so much going on under the hood on the Xbox One that a lot of the time your game is basically having to having to manage a lot of multitasking that it normally shouldn't have to. Yeah.
huh. So this
Yeah.
is one of those things where I don't get the full picture of it, not by not being a programmer or developer. Well, I'm technically a developer, but I don't really get into the meat and potatoes of things like
Yeah.
a programmer does.
Yeah. Well, if you're not familiar with how the Xbox One works right now, and this is probably how it's going to continue to work, although one of the sections is going to be Windows 10. There are actually 3 operating systems running on the Xbox One simultaneously.
Wow.
So the imagine the who would have to make. So you got
Okay, you just broke
you've
up
got
really
one.
bad there.
Yeah. So you've got one operating system, the Windows Hyper-V,
Uh-huh.
that is actually managing 2 other operating systems. The Windows, right now it's the Windows 8 core, which is the dashboard and all the
Yeah.
functions around that. And then there's the Xbox OS, which is what the games actually run under. And got a kind of a neat little triangle thing going on. And
Yeah.
if you want your game to interact with the dashboard, well, there's hooks you have to go through and steps you have to take. So it's you get a lot of latency and stuff introduced by doing that. Hopefully, Windows 10 will streamline that a
Clean some
little
of that up.
bit. Yeah. So we will wait until January 21st to see what Phil has to say.
Yeah, it should be interesting. Anything that makes development and performance better on the Xbox One is certainly going to be a welcome thing.
Yeah. Yeah. The nice thing about stuff like that is, games can patch themselves to take advantage of those features. So, if a game was released, like say Forza Horizon 2, and they wanted to take more advantage of some of the Windows 10 features, well, they could always patch themselves forward. So that's pretty cool.
That is. You gotta wonder though, system's been out for a year. How far back do you think developers are going to go to take advantage of this?
I don't know. They'll probably go maybe the bigger releases that they still see people playing. You know, I'm guessing the Call of Duties will probably get patched. Battlefields, you'll definitely see those getting patched. Microsoft's own things, they'll probably, like Halo Master Chief, I'm pretty sure they're going to bring some of that forward. So
that's cool. I was talking more like maybe launch titles and stuff like that. It's kind of a similar situation to the PlayStation TV, where it doesn't have the support for touchscreen functions, and they were just ham-fisting that into every launch game to where, I mean, even the menus, you had to use the touchscreen just to get the game started, and now that's causing compatibility issues that could theoretically be patched out of them, but got the system as old as it is, you gotta wonder how much trouble they're actually going to be willing to go to.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
I mean, it's a shame, because, some of those PS Vita launch titles were really good. And if you want to play them on the big screen, well, you can't.
Luminous Electronic Symphony still has a home in my system to this day. Would love to play it on the TV, but...
Not gonna happen.
It's good to dream.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll get ported like the original Luminous and Luminous 2 more or less did.
Yeah. We'll see what they decide to do.
Yeah. So
we got some Street Fighter V news to talk about, though.
We got a ton of Street Fighter V news to talk about. This was crazy. Capcom Cup last night. We thought we'd seen pretty much everything between the leak and PlayStation Experience. Nope.
Character reveal, at least a tease, but I'm pretty sure this is
big character reveal. Charlie making his first appearance since Alpha 3. Well, unless you... Well, yeah, it would be Alpha 3. And he was in Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Yeah, that was...
He wasn't relevant in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, but he was in it. He was there.
Yeah. You could play as him.
You just didn't really want to.
Yeah.
But no, this is interesting because the reveal... First off, I'm glad they remember what his theme sounds like, because it's, as far as I'm concerned, one of the better themes in Street Fighter. I liked the little nod to it that they gave it in Abel's theme in Street Fighter 4.
Yeah.
But he had a little bit of the third eye action going on, which is very... It has very particular significance in the world of Street Fighter. You got characters Urien, Gil, that display this from time to time, and it's kind of telling that this is probably going to be an Illuminati art tied to Street Fighter 3, more so than Shadaloo or SIN.
Yeah,
so
which
they've dropped.
I'm okay with, because I think the whole SIN arc was kind of dumb.
It was. It felt like a filler arc, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was more relevant to it was what was going on in the background of it. I felt obviously the Guile and Abel stuff that might very well have been leading up to Charlie's reveal in Street Fighter V. And if that was how Ono planned it from the beginning, he's a genius.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we know Ono is a smart dude, so
he is.
I wouldn't entirely put it past him.
He's just so busy trolling that it's easy to write him off as a clown, but no, he is brilliant, to be sure. And that would have been possibly some of the best foreshadowing, and the only thing that really pisses me off about it is that it took 5 damn years to give it the payoff.
Oh no, playing the long game.
Seriously, but at the same time, it's a Street Fighter storyline that we might stand to get an actual payoff from, which we're not entirely used to. But yeah, it seems like... And then the other thing I felt they got out of Street Fighter 4 was, of course, the Ryu, Goken, Akuma sort of succession storyline. Maximilian already did a video about the implications of that with Street Fighter 5, so I'm not going to go into that here. But it seems, as far as finding out where this game is going to land in the Street Fighter timeline, we're probably going to be just waiting to see Akuma, and this is something that Maximilian didn't touch on. One big time indicator in the Street Fighter franchise is that in Street Fighter 3, Akuma was starting to go gray. So when we see his character design, we'll be able to place Street Fighter V's position in the timeline a lot more accurately than we would if it were than we would beforehand.
Yeah. I'm thinking this is definitely pre-3 though.
It could be. Definitely. It might go between in a really awkward space between 4 and 3.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Ryu doesn't look as old, to be honest.
Yeah.
Either he hasn't.
That could be a
aged at
design
all,
thing
or...
too.
Yeah. Maybe.
You never know with Capcom, and I'm not even sure these are Ikeno designs this time.
Yeah.
I mean, we really haven't seen enough to know for sure who the character designer is going to be for this game. Whoa, lighting. Okay, this is cool. But should we talk about some of the gameplay stuff that we saw?
Oh, definitely, because that was pretty intriguing.
Yeah, I'm not even sure where to start or how to describe it. It's definitely unique, even compared to Street Fighter 3. Don't really know how to describe it, but there's a lot of hit stun stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff Street Fighter 3 like with non-uniform EX meter, super meter. Revenge meter's still back from Street Fighter 4, but we didn't see focus
it looks
there.
Like that's something you can actually trigger. Yeah, like you said, focus didn't look like it was a thing. Ultras didn't seem to be there.
Yeah, they just seemed like they were supers again. The whole thing really seemed to have a Street Fighter Alpha atmosphere about it, which I'm thrilled to see because I love the Alpha series. But at the same time, it just seems so much different from what we think of Street Fighter as being altogether. And makes me wonder if...
from what I saw, it didn't seem wrong.
It did.
Still felt like Street Fighter, but just, I don't know, matured.
Yeah, I think we're starting to lose the uniformity of how we think of light, medium, hard attacks. I mean, obviously we didn't have our hands on the controls, and I'm sure Combo Fiend and Mike Ross are under airtight NDAs.
Not to say anything.
Yeah, but I just got the feeling Jab Strong Fierce was not what was going on there. It felt very much like there was some kind, almost a 3D fighting approach going on, not necessarily a 3D fighting overall system, but the way of thinking has certainly shifted.
Yeah.
So hard to put stuff like that into words, but I
Yeah,
definitely encourage everybody listening right now to check out the gameplay footage because it looks fantastic.
yeah. I mean, we were both kind of hesitant when we first heard about the reveal, but I think Ono knows what he's doing at this point.
Yeah, I was just
Like,
worried that it was going to adhere to Street Fighter 4 sensibilities, but having sat down and really thought about it some more, Street Fighter 4 sensibilities aren't even necessarily Street Fighter 4 sensibilities anymore. You take into
yeah,
account some of these patches that have been going on with Ultra Street Fighter 4. It almost seems now, in hindsight, like it's preparing for Street Fighter 5, kind of marking a halfway point between Arcade Edition 2012 and Street Fighter 5 from what we've seen of it.
yeah,
But my God, some of that hit stun was brutal. I mean,
yeah,
ugh. So it seems like we're moving away from one frame links into some sort of freestyle system, not a rapid freestyle system like the custom combos from Alpha 2,
yeah.
but definitely
But
something that
being
opens
able
it
to
up a little
take
bit.
advantage of the hit stun and actually, have a split second to actually do something instead of having to hit
Having a
exact
single
frames.
frame.
Yeah,
That was one of two
yeah,
major problems that really moved me away from Street Fighter 4 in the first place. And so I'm
yeah,
really happy to see them moving away from that.
yeah. Yeah. Who thought just frames were a good idea on a system that's going to be played on mostly LCD monitors?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, not just
that's why it
that,
just
but
doesn't work.
I'm just old school. I think, you know, save it for the combo videos. Let's let's redraw the line back where it belongs between practical combos and stylish combos.
Yeah,
Again, that's me being an old head here, but I don't know. I still think Super Turbo and Alpha 2 are the perfect examples of traditional Street Fighter, and
yeah,
the things that separated Street Fighter 4 from those games did not make Street Fighter 4 better.
no,
So I'm really happy to see Street Fighter 5 in the form that it's in,
yeah,
and yeah, and they seem to be going to really great lengths to make characters even more distinct from each other than they are now. And that's another one of those 3D things I was talking about. It almost feels like players are going, like they're going to go in a Virtua Fighter kind of direction where players are going to be encouraged to learn one character, and instead of having to have a pocket character for matchup reasons, just learn the matchups inside and out so you're fully equipped for whatever you might end up dealing with.
yeah,
And I love that. That is my way of thinking. And if that's really where they're going with Street Fighter V, then, you know, bravo to Capcom. I
yeah,
fully support that decision.
yeah. And more sticky soup bowls. Let's have some of those.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. It, it was one of those things like once the Soup Bowl came into play, you just could not take your eyes off of it. And it's like it's like
Stay
a
there.
cursed item from Virtua Fighter.
Yeah,
It just stays there. It's like, yeah, you got knocked, you got the soup bowl knocked onto your head. It's going to stay there for the rest of the fight, and you're going to be looking funny. And then, you
yeah,
know, who wants to lose to the person who has a soup bowl on their head at the same time?
yeah. I hope that's kind of a just a taste of what we're gonna see as far as
I certainly
the
hope
stage
so.
interactions go, because that's amazing.
Yeah, it's almost like their way of bringing back the breakable elements in Street Fighter 2 stages, which is also something I wouldn't mind seeing make a comeback.
Yeah. Well,
But
it's like kind of a hybrid between stage transitions and that
those cursed
and just the
items,
breakable items. So
yeah.
yeah,
No, I loved it. I mean, I was super skeptical when when the leak happened and we found out Street Fighter V is coming a lot sooner than we thought. Because once again, I said this last week, but I was totally on board with Tomoaki Ayano when he said that Street Fighter V wouldn't and probably shouldn't come until 2018. That seemed about right to me. Give Ultra Street Fighter 4 the time that it needs in the spotlight, and I still think it deserves that much. But as far as any major concerns about common threads between Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5 in terms of design philosophy, I'm starting to relax a bit on that. I'm starting to think they can pull this one off, and hopefully this game is both as progressive and as much a throwback as it looks, because I don't know, I was just wishing I could get my hands on that game for a little while when they were showing it last night.
Yeah, I mean, we were definitely seeing throwback levels of hit stun, so there's
well, that wasn't throwback. It was never that bad. Maybe very specific attacks in Tekken 5 put out hit stun that bad, but certainly nothing in Street Fighter 2 outside of glitches.
Yeah.
I mean, the characters weren't getting handcuffed, but they might as well have been.
Yeah.
And that might have been exaggerated properties for the unveiling too, just to kind of put an exclamation point on where they're going with this. But I think there's at least some truth to it in the long term.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty. I'm pretty sure we're both pretty happy with what we saw. So.
I'm thrilled. I really can't wait. And then
Sony seems like they want to make sure that Street Fighter V has some legs. So
$500,000 going into the pot at Capcom Cup next year. By far the richest fighting game tournament ever, automatically. Several times over, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, this is proper esports money, and I got to throw shout-outs to Sony for supporting the community and supporting the game. They've really done everything short of buying the Street Fighter brand outright, and so yeah, I'm super impressed. I guess they wanted something they could go to war with that would kind of be their equivalent of Killer Instinct.
Yeah. Wonder if that was kind of a subtle way of hinting at 5's potential release date.
Huh. I really thought about it that way. But it does make sense. Is Capcom Cup 2015 going to be a Street Fighter 4 tournament, or is it going to be a Street Fighter 5 tournament?
Yeah.
Because I guess it would make very little sense for Sony to put $500,000 into Street Fighter 4 when Street Fighter 5 is really, you know, for all intents and purposes, the main event now.
Yeah.
And maybe we're going to be getting our hands on this game sooner than later.
Yeah. Although we will have Ultra on the PS4 in the spring.
Yeah.
So.
And still no word of an Xbox One release of that.
Yeah.
So,
I think Sony might have just sealed up Street Fighter for the foreseeable future.
That would be very interesting, and if that's the case, I would love to find out the terms of the deal sooner or later, just out of sheer morbid curiosity, because that's probably about as big as a deal can get without going into, you know, those Capcom sweepstakes, which as far as we know are still on, and this could also be Sony kicking the tires on that, but hopefully, you know, yeah, hopefully this pays dividends for all involved, because regardless of anything else, it's good for the fighting game community. And it's really starting to look like the fighting genre is fixing to be one of the major battlefields in the console war this time around.
which is something I never would have expected to see.
Not in 2014, because I mean now they've already got Injustice out. They've got Guilty Gear coming this week, which is a PlayStation brand exclusive. It's going to the PS3 as well as the PS4. And now they've wrapped up Street Fighter V and presumably Ultra Street Fighter 4.
Yeah.
So, at the same time, props to Microsoft and Phil Spencer in particular for his response to it. Because he just came right out and said, this is part of competition. We applaud the move by Sony, but if we're going to do anything, we would rather put money and human resources into making Killer Instinct the best game that it can be, rather than picking up third-party exclusives, which I can understand. But it really tells you just how intense this console war is going to be, with really bold moves like Sony picking up Street Fighter and oh, that was horrible. But really, and he also said something like he looks forward to making it up to Xbox One players, so looks like Microsoft might have some bold moves of their own in the works. This is going to be a really knockdown, drag-out console war, but it's going to do it without having any of the stupid acrimony that, in my opinion, tainted 16-bit.
Yeah.
Like,
once we move past Resolution Gate, we'll be able to do a little bit more with that.
Yeah. But at the same time, I mean, who would have guessed, even a few weeks ago, Street Fighter is going to go exclusive?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just, if that's a sign of things to come, then I'm excited.
Yeah. Also makes me wonder what Microsoft might have in store. I mean, if they're looking to do their own, does that mean they've got another fighting game in the pipeline that we don't know about yet?
It would be very interesting to see that. I don't want to tarnish the discussion by bringing up other intellectual properties they possess in that genre, but they're certainly in a position to introduce something completely.
No, we don't need a Tail Fang reboot. Thanks very much.
Kakuto Chojin, no thanks.
No, let's not have either of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they've got the talent on board. They've got all the development money they could ever need. I mean, it's Microsoft. So this is just the beginning, and I don't think it's going to confine itself to the fighting genre by any stretch.
Yeah.
So anyway,
very exciting stuff as far as fighting games and the Street Fighter franchise in particular is concerned. So
stay tuned
to see that. Yeah.
So, sort of the main topic of discussion this week. We are about halfway through December as I speak. Game of the Year discussions. It's definitely time to think about it, and we've already internally begun mulling it over at SmashPad. And so, just to get a little bit of buzz going for it, let's discuss some of our favorite games of 2014.
Yeah. Well, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Defense Grid 2, which is basically one of my favorite games ever as far as that goes. Diablo 3, Reaper of Souls, I think that's, the perfect version of that game. I'm very pleased with that one. You have any in particular that you're really stoked about this year?
Without giving up any of the most prominent spots on my list, I well, first off, I have to give a shout out to Nintendo because so many of the, we're all doing our top 10 lists, and Nintendo is occupying more of mine than I would have ever guessed going into 2014. So, yeah, the Wii U definitely coming into its own. Sales have been down throughout the entire young lifespan of the system thus far, but I don't know a single person who has one and doesn't like it. So,
yeah.
And 2014 was really a banner year for it, and 2015 is already looking to be the same if you ask Shigeru Miyamoto and Eiji Aonuma.
Yeah. Yeah, if we get to play Zelda in 2015, well, I'm definitely going to be enjoying that, and it looks like that is going to be the case.
Yep. No, they seem to be banking on it, really.
Yeah.
As far as other selections on my list, let's see. Trying to pick I guess a cop-out on my list here is the Final Fantasy X and X-2 HD remaster. But I think it's super interesting that they're doing so much with those particular games, because a lot of people would make the argument that that was kind of the huge finale of the Mistwalker era at Square Enix, if you will.
Yeah.
And now we're moving out of that era of them kind of chasing down a global market that was never really there for them. And what are they leading with? Final Fantasy X. And so it's almost like they're using that to signify that there has been a changing of the guard, and they are looking back to the old JRPG mentality that really made them great, in order to determine their direction for the future, which I support wholeheartedly, because I love the games that they were cranking out in the heyday. And even if they don't have the minds on board to duplicate those, they certainly have the talent. Well, they have the minds on board to duplicate them, if not the minds that produced those initial hits, is what I was trying to say. So I'm taking that as kind of a declaration from them that that's really what they're looking to, and that's also what I get out of Final Fantasy VII coming to the PS4. They just want to get these games out to kind of establish the tone for the stuff that's coming.
Yeah. Yeah, when you start to look at it that way, it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, and so that's why...
Because I think part of the reason that we don't have a Final Fantasy VII, complete remaster is because they would have to basically rebuild the entire game from scratch.
Well, not just
I don't
that,
think they'd be able to use any PS1 code, at all.
Yeah, they're
probably have to
too old to be
rebuild it from
recycled. But the other thing is, they actually have some pretty deep philosophical reasons for not going with a full remake of Final Fantasy VII, because they feel that would be like admitting they couldn't do better anymore. And so they're not saying they're never going to do a remake, but they're saying they refuse to do it until they make a game that is better.
Yeah.
Which is a really loaded statement that I can completely get behind. It shows confidence.
Yeah. Although it also kind of says that every game we've made since has not been as good.
Yeah, which I would disagree with in part. They did crank out Final Fantasy IX after that.
Yeah.
But since then it has largely been downhill.
Yeah. Well, 10 had its moments. And
it did.
10-2 I haven't played yet, so...
10-2 was probably what I would have done with the original 10 to a degree. It brought back the job system, it brought back the ATB. It felt more like a Final Fantasy game, even if it didn't have the look of it. So if you end up
Yeah.
getting the HD remaster, whether it's on PS3 or next year on PS4, that's been announced, then I highly recommend looking into it because
Yeah.
um, when you get past the visual style, there's a really solid JRPG mechanical foundation behind it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll definitely be picking up 7 and the 10 remake on the PS4. I mean, I could get it on PS3, but why the heck not?
Yeah, I mean, we know the PS4 version's coming now. I've got the PS3 version, but I might still, just because I can.
Yeah.
And just because, I've got a new system. I've got the new system. It's PS4. I don't have a ton of games for it yet, but it's still sort of sorting out its own identity. And that just makes me all the more want to throw as many JRPGs at it as I can get my hands on. And there are many. I mean, it's not just Square Enix doing this. TGS was very generous to the genre. There's a Fairy Fencer F sequel coming. There's Disgaea 5 that's been announced. Ys 8. Just all these great JRPGs in the pipeline. And now this is more about Square Enix just getting into the party. And if that isn't and in proper Square Enix form as well, and if that isn't enough to get you excited, then you need to be checked for a pulse.
Yeah. Like, either you have never played a proper JRPG or you're dead. So,
Yeah.
one of the two.
Yeah,
Which
it
is a
really
strange
feels.
tangent that we went down, but that's what happens on this show.
Yeah. This is very much an ADD show, and hopefully everyone listening has gotten used to that fact by now.
Because we were talking about Game of the Year, but, well, what the hell?
Well, Final Fantasy X and X-2, HD remaster is one of my Game of the Year selections. And, I mean, it was either that or we could talk about Ultra Street Fighter 4 for another 15 minutes. But
nah.
I figure we've already overdosed on Street Fighter for one show. Another game that landed on my list that I was kind of surprised to see myself was Mario Kart 8. And I've kind of gone over my reasons in the past that the core driving mechanics are so solid that I wondered if Nintendo had actually outsourced that job to Sega. But it's still a Mario Kart game, but it's so well crafted and it's got so much content that I had to at least include it on the list. Despite
it made
its
my
flaws,
list,
which are many.
Wii U. So,
yeah. I still wish they would get rid of positional item bias, or at the very least disable the more hardcore stuff like blue shells and lightning bolts on lap 3. But other than that, I mean, this is the best Mario Kart that I've played since the original, to be completely honest. It's one of those racing games that I can really sit down and really kind of break down on a technical level. Even when you take the weapons and offbeat stuff into account like that. And so I have to give some props to that because they came out with this knowing they had to make something truly special, and I think they did. I just think with the DLC being what it is, we've seen the last of the Mario Kart brand because, oh hey, a top 10 time. Because honestly, if they were... I think they've milked the Mario franchise dry, and they have to start looking to other Nintendo franchises, much like they have with Smash Brothers. And so maybe that might be a brand they could look into, Super Smash Kart, or something completely different from that. But
I do think the DLC that they put out, there's kind of hints of that.
yeah, I mean, you got Link, you've got some Animal Crossing stuff in the pipeline. One of the courses was Excite Bike.
Yeah.
You know, I think we're one or two titles in the series, and like I said, I think this is going to be the last one called Mario Kart. But
Yeah.
whatever form it takes after that, I think we're just one step away from it going the direction of Smash. And, I mean, some of the assist trophies in Smash, if you've seen them, get really offbeat. You can generate a game of Pong on the screen, and the ball will knock fighters around. There's an assist trophy where the boss Galaga will come out and abduct a player. Which, I mean,
Yeah.
being dragged to the top
you
of the screen in that game is not something you want to happen.
No.
And so I think we're like one or two games away from that level of crazy being introduced to Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Hopefully the racing becomes more competitive and not less. But other than that, I mean, as far as introducing different intellectual properties or things of that nature, I think the sky's the limit.
Yeah. And it's really good to see Nintendo like embracing that. Because in the past, a franchise was a franchise, and it never really melded with anything else.
And Nintendo hasn't historically been that great at playing with others, but it's something they've picked up in the last 7 or 8 years or so.
Yeah. Well, and look at Hyrule Warriors.
That wouldn't have happened.
That wouldn't have. Yeah.
I think Star Fox Assault
did
and
we're both thinking the exact same thing.
I think Star Fox Assault and F-Zero GX were the real trailblazers in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah, one of those turned out better than the other.
It's true. Wouldn't mind seeing Sega take another crack at F-Zero.
Yeah.
I think when you put the series in 3D, Sega treats it better than Nintendo.
Yeah.
To be completely blunt. But yeah, I don't want to give away my whole list, and I don't think you do either. But those are definitely a couple of our favorites for the 2014 Game of the Year. And just stay tuned. We'll be rolling out our individual articles here in the coming week or so, and hopefully we'll be entertaining enough in those to keep everybody interested leading up to our New Year's Day piece, where we'll reveal SmashPad's overall Game of the Year.
Yeah. One thing I will say though, from the lists that are in so far, seems pretty much everyone has at least one Nintendo title on it.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised that I have as many as I do, because I didn't go into 2014 thinking that Nintendo was just going to completely tear it up, and I sure as hell wouldn't have expected that Mario Kart would have even made an impression. But you gotta hand it to them. Their big games were their big games. And they also found a couple of gems where they wouldn't have expected to even look. I mean, some of the Nintendo stuff on my list is stuff that they only really released in passing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, hopefully this means that we're going to see more of that. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah. Well, if they keep doing that, I think they'll be in pretty good shape going into 2015 and 2016.
That's true. Here we were a few weeks ago talking about them possibly kind of trying to do a rush swap out of the Wii U for the quality of life platform, and now things are looking pretty damn good in Kyoto. So, and I'm happy to see it. I mean, we say this about all the big three all the time, but we do it because it's true. The gaming industry is better when Nintendo is doing well. And I don't know if they're going to continue to want to be the outliers or if they're going to start getting some ideas about picking up even bigger market share, depending on how this holiday season treats them. But Amiibo seems to be setting them up for, if not the return of Wii sales figures, which were obscene, and which to this day are kind of facilitating what's going on with them right now. Well, they're not going to be just getting reacquainted with black ink so much as drowning in it sooner than later.
Yeah, that's that's not a bad problem to have.
Yeah,
Even
and
if the amount of black ink might not quite match up with what Sony and Microsoft might be dealing with.
yeah,
At least everybody's going to have food on the table and
yeah.
be able to make a pretty good living.
Well, I'm still curious about that because a couple months ago, the Xbox One and the Wii U were tied with the PS4 way out in front.
Yeah.
Once the holidays are over, I'm going to want to take another look at that because I want to see where the Wii U and the Xbox One are relative to each other more so than to the PS4.
Yeah. So December's NPD numbers are definitely going to be very interesting to look at once.
I think that's going to set the tone for the whole generation.
Yeah.
Because I think once we get through this holiday season, we're going to start seeing the trends that will start to define the generation as the games themselves that will start to define the generation come out.
Yeah.
I'm excited. This has been a much better year than I was expecting it to be for games, and 2015 is already looking super promising with stuff that's just slid off the calendar into next year. So yeah, game of the year. Articles should start popping up around, what was it, the 21st, the 22nd?
Actually, more like the 18th, I believe, is when the first one's going to go up.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Even
We'll
sooner
start
than I
having
thought.
some of that stuff this week, so.
I didn't know we had that many people. So yeah, that's coming up here in a few days. So keep watch for that. Should we wrap it up?
Yeah, unless you got anything else to say, I think we've
good.
pretty much done.
All right. So, well, that's our show for this week. Hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for next week because we'll start.
Are we doing a show next week?
I guess that's kind of up in the air. Depends on how much news there is, I suppose, or...
Yeah. We'll keep you guys posted.
Yeah, keep watching the Facebook site and the Tumblr. We'll definitely be giving you an up or down decision, hopefully around Wednesday or Thursday, as to whether we're going to do a show or not. But if not, then I expect we'll probably be back at least before New Year's.
Yeah.
So, well, I guess that's about it for this week.
Yeah. So with that, I'm Filippo Donofrio.
I'm Patrick Mifflin.
See you later.